Okay, so I picked up a lightly used Cobb rear motor mount for my Fiesta on the Fiesta ST forum. It's got the little washer in here, so it only had about, the previous owner said it had about 1,000 miles on it, so it's probably close to broken in, not quite. I currently have an AWR mount on the car, and I'll catch a video before I do the install, but it has a fair amount of vibration and some low frequency noise that I'm not terribly fond of. So we're going to see if this guy can still provide, and in that AWR mount it's a 78, so it's the softest one they have, but I'm going to see if this guy with these little holes in here that are designed to help reduce the vibration, this guy will provide enough rigidity over the stock unit and not vibrate quite as much. So the AWR comes with this bracket, which is a nice feature of it. It comes with this bracket, or a new version of this bracket on it, so the Cobb does not. We're going to have to pop this guy off. Got my, hopefully, rubber mallet. We'll cut it, but we're going to go ahead and pop this off. Just has to kind of tap it off. I don't want to beat on it too much, so I don't want to damage it if I need to reinstall this. So the rubber mallet did a pretty good job. I just kind of tapped it around these edges and tried to kind of get up on this upper edge. Just worked around as much area as I could, back and forth, and then kind of wiggled it a little, and came off with no damage. So I'd recommend using something like a rubber mallet so you don't kind of beat the crap out of it for no reason. So you can see that looks like on the original car that it came from, it had a little bit of contact here. Almost looks like from some hardware, so it may not have been related to the mount moving, but this essentially just sits right in here on top of this little spacer here, and you run the factory bolts through and you're all set. So go ahead and get a video of that vibration with the AWR mount, and then get this guy installed. You can see right here, this is the little fitting it comes off of. It's got these little kind of press fit tabs on it, hold it in. So if you take it off nice, you should be able to put this back together if you go back to stock. Just a quick note, I mentioned that I saw this little wear up here on the top of the mount. It looks like it's probably due to this moving around and banging into it during installation. So get a little more light on it, get it from a different angle. But can see where that ding is there. It's hard to catch, but right there is probably kind of where it's slinging into it during the installation, so it wasn't running into any part of the car. So of course the air conditioning's running in a range now that it's later at night, that it's not getting the vibration that tends to drive me crazy. I'm trying to blip it to the throttle range. It's right around 1,000 RPM where this thing really gets buzzing. I'm going to see if I can catch it. Out here. Anyway, it's hard to see. You can barely see the wheel. It's vibrating, and it just has a fairly unpleasant low frequency noise right about here, and I just passed right through it. This throttle's just way too touchy in this range. See, about 1100 is good right there. Anyway, you probably can't hear it in the video, but I'm going to go ahead and replace it. What would happen is the side view mirror, and it's nighttime of course, the side view mirror would rattle like crazy, and we're going to see if... There's that vibration in the mirror I was talking about. See how blurry it is? I'll let get out of the harsh 4,000 range. See it? See it clean right up. I pinpoint that 1,000 range perfectly before down. And there it is. Again, you can see that vibration right there. Let it go. Cleans up. So that's what I'm trying to get rid of. And in the daytime, it's much more. So So all the nuts under here, well, and bolts, because you got bolts on the main motor mount, are 13 millimeter. We're going to start by removing 2 nuts up here that mate to the catalytic converter support, and then we're going to move these 2 guys, these outer nuts that mate the support bracket to the transmission. And then once we get these guys off, there's actually another set under here that you're going to need at least a deep socket for, 13 millimeter again. Once those guys are loose, we'll go ahead and take these 2 off. Okay, you can see real quick, here's the catalytic converter support bolts out with the plate out, and we're going to move these 2 guys. Okay, so we have the bracket out, and now we're going to go ahead and remove these 2 guys with a deep socket. One thing you may want to do while you're under here is take a look at your shaft seals here on your drive shafts. Just make sure you don't have any significant leaks here, since you're under the car anyway. Just want to note real quick, I decided to loosen up and take out the rear bolt first, just to take any load off of these forward bolts. So when you take them off, there's no side loading or anything. Obviously there wasn't any load because that thing came out with no effort. So it's probably still a good idea to take the rear one out first and then remove these 3, and you'll have your mount out. Yet another quick note is, if you have this rear mount off, or this rear mount, the rear bolt, there we go, sorry, off, when you try to loosen the forward bolt, the whole engine wants to rock on you. Forgot about that. So these guys really didn't have much of a load on them, so you should be able to take these out, or take this guy out first and then remove these. I don't know, I don't like the idea. This is more of the main support. I don't like the idea of having these, the only thing holding it in, but it probably really doesn't matter. This is a pretty significantly thick bracket. I would recommend taking these guys out, probably loosening this guy with all 3 and loosening the rear bolt, then taking these out, and then but leave it, enough screwed in so it holds this guy secure while you try to remove this forward. Okay, you can see we have all the hardware removed and the mount is out, and here's what this AWR mount looks like, if I can get around to it. It's a pretty darn nice mount. You can see it's quite a different design than the Cobb. I'll get this in some better light in a sec. Okay, so here's the AWR mount compared to the Cobb in a little more light. You can see the bushing on the Cobb is significantly larger in diameter. And this is a 1-piece aluminum, and this is welded. I believe it's chromoly tubes. But while it's larger, it does have these holes drilled through it to hopefully cancel out some of that noise, the vibration noise that you get. Okay, so we have the Cobb mount just loosely installed. Just got the bolts lined up and started them threaded in. Here's our bracket. So this guy's gonna swing up around here, mount in, and yeah, we'll get everybody tightened up. The 4 main bolts, the 2 up here and these 2 on the motor mount itself, are 50 Newton meters. Sorry, 70 Newton meters. Let me make that correction. 70 Newton meters, which comes out to about 52 foot-pounds. So this guy, and the 2 up here are 70 Newton meters, 52 foot-pounds. The bracket bolts and nuts, and the nuts that go on top of the studs that hold this top of the bracket in, those are 24 Newton meters, which I believe is around 17 foot-pounds, or about 209 inch-pounds, I believe. But just multiply your 18 foot-pounds by 12, and that'll get you that number. So we're going to go ahead and hand tighten all the hardware up and get our torque wrench out and torque it down. Make sure that when you're putting this bracket on, that you get this little almost conical washer under it, That comes with a Cobb mount. Don't forget that, because that helps keep the bracket centered properly and keeps it from going too far down and kind of burying itself and the urethane bushing here, and it also wouldn't get a secure fit if it didn't have a flat surface to rest on. Make sure you have the longer standoff version of these bracket studs to the back, shorter one to the front. And when you're putting anything like these into aluminum, which is what the transmission is, make sure you get a lot of hand threading in. You don't want to put a wrench to it real quick and tear up your threads. Just wanted to show you what this looks like when the support bracket is fully seated onto that conical washer. You can see it's flush up against it, which indicates that the small inner diameters pass through the bracket, so everything's nice and square. Okay, so we got all 4 of these main motor mount bolts torqued down to, I'm not going to be able to read it here, but 52 foot-pounds. And so we're going to go ahead and put the support bracket back on. My little torque wrench only goes to 200 inch-pounds. The spec is 24 newton meters, which is 212 inch-pounds. I'm going to run it at 200 because my larger foot-pound wrench only goes down to 20, and it's just a hair under 18 foot-pounds at 24 newton meters. So I'd rather be at 200 inch-pounds, which puts me around 23-ish newton meters, so 1 newton meter, maybe 1.5 newton meter lower on the spec. That should be within tolerance. And I don't want to rip one of these studs off. Other folks have done that, so I'd rather just torque it just slightly under the spec. When you're putting this little plate on the catalytic converter studs, make sure you don't forget this little sleeve slides in here, just to hold everything straight. So you're going to want to tighten down the cat support nuts first to get it drawn up properly. So when you tighten these guys down, they're in the right location. And with those sleeves in there, everything should center pretty good. I'm going to hand tighten this guy all the way up, then hand tighten these guys, and then torque it all down. Okay, so we have everybody torqued up, and we should be good to go. I'm going to fire it up here in a minute, see if I feel any noticeable difference in engine vibration, and hopefully it'll be a little bit better. I do like the way this is built a little bit better, but that's all just aesthetics, so we'll see what we get. Okay, what I'm going to say right off the bat is just engine start alone was significantly smoother, and I mean significant. Right now we're running pretty close to that that 1-ish thousand RPM mark. Let's see if I can get it to get there here. So I didn't even notice going past 1,000 RPM. I'm hovering right around it. I'm not feeling any harshness. Let's see if we can do the mirror check. Same AC settings. You can even hear outside the car the engine noise isn't nearly significant. Okay, so there's the mirror. We get it up to about, there it is, 1,000 RPM. I can't even see it change. So this is a significant improvement in the hopefully my fans aren't making too much noise. This is a significant improvement from an interior cabin noise perspective. We'll see if it ends up being a major change in how much engine motion I get. I know I'm going to get a little bit more engine motion, but hopefully not. Hopefully it's not proportional to the reduction in vibration, but that remains to be seen. So I will update as necessary.